Hello, what is going on, guys? I am the CHALL and welcome back to another video. Now today we're going to be talking about the EFL, and it's all about the upcoming meetings which decides the future of the league. We've got a BBC Sport report just basically throwing some ideas in as to what could be next for EFL League 1 and EFL League 2, and probably even including the Championship as well. Now there is separate meetings for the Championship and the League 1 and 2 meetings together. So it's a very interesting process. So I'm going to share the stats from the article, share my thoughts on these, my own personal theories, and also my thoughts in general. So please like, comment, subscribe for more football and basketball content. And for now, guys, let's get into this video. So this is all about the EFL. So this is where League 1 and League 2 is where the money doesn't seem to be coming in. It's the Championship a little bit more, but it's the Premier League that's getting all the big bucks. Again, I've said it in the past, I've said it in previous videos, I don't agree with that. But we just have to move on, accept it, unless something changes, which I really hope it does, and I hope the EFL League 1, League 2 Championship, they get more budget. I really hope they do. But let's have a look at this BBC One article which states what could happen next if the EFL League 1 and League 2 could shut this week. So the BBC article states that scrapping the rest of the season in Leagues 1 and 2 is likely to be the most significant topic for discussion in another week of key meetings in the Football League. An EFL board meeting on Wednesday will be followed by a meeting of all Championship clubs, and then another involving the 47 clubs from the bottom two leagues. It's not certain the leagues will be formally ended this week, as there are a number of issues that will need to be resolved, not least surrounding promotion and relegation, and the EFL is adamant no decision about the rest of the season has been made. However, BBC Sports understands that there is a general acceptance among clubs that the resumption of the season in League 1s and League 2 is impossible. Why has the season got to stop? Quite simply, money. Or more pertinently, a lack of it. And this has been my personal hate compared to the Premier League, that League 1 and League 2 have so much passion, so much local pride, but they're not being invested into local pride, and it's not people that are caring about them when they're the clubs that could build the future of football. They could build from the lower divisions, like a Bournemouth story or a Huddersfield or a Lincoln story. You know, those are the stories that are more fairy tale than the Premier League ones. Obviously, Leicester City's title win can be a comparison that's not, taken notice of. But other things, this is a bigger fairy tale than most of the Premier League ones. It's estimated Premier League clubs have agreed to spend a combined £4 million on COVID-19 testing alone for their players in order to get the season restarted. Blah, blah, blah. In normal circumstances, finding a sum like that will be a tall order for the lower leagues. In the present climate, it's impossible because the EFL don't get the funding and the Premier League think they're the big boss of the Premier with the English football, and they're not. We're just hyping up our own leagues. Many clubs have furloughed their players with no crowds allowed in stadiums for the foreseeable future. It would cost money to stage games. EFL chairman Rick Parry says 1,400 players across the league's three divisions were out of contract on 30th of June. The majority of those players are in Leagues 1 and 2. There is continuing uncertainty over their availability in July, when it was planned for the season to finish, and the clubs do not want to run the risk of paying them additional sums when they do not have to, basically. If the season is brought to a premature end, in some instances, clubs will also avoid having to pay additional bonuses and appearance money. In addition, there is no guarantee clubs in Leagues 1 and 2 will be able to meet the strict medical protocols being put in place for the Premier League. What will happen next? If the National League is any guide, the process could take some time. In normal circumstances, any EFL regulation change requires the majority of the 24 clubs of the Championship to vote in favour, plus the majority of the whole 71 club structure. This system places significant power with the Championship. However, it could be argued that it should be not so strong in determining the future direction of the leagues below. As with the rest of the professional game, the EFL is heading into uncharted waters. If it follows the National League example, it will ask the clubs to vote on whether they wish to end the season first and deal with the logistics of it finishing later. However, it could also ask clubs for their preferred method of deciding league position. Options include voiding the season completely, thought to be unlikely. using present placings. So where the teams are now, that's where they finish. Doesn't matter about games in hand or anything like that, that's where they finish. Using points per game average, so that average determines positions in the leagues. Using away points per game average, which takes into account the number of home and away games each club has played. That one I'm not too sure about, but I'm going to share another personal theory which I saw online, which I completely agree with a little bit later. Big clubs who know their fate. No matter how the season falls, unless promotion and relegation are abandoned completely, some of England's most famous names already know their fate. Sunderland and Ipswich, 7th and 10th in League One respectively when the season was halted, are destined to miss out on the playoffs. For Sunderland, it will mean a third successive season in the third tier of English football. Ipswich will extend their stay for a second year, for the first time that will happen since 1957 when they were promoted from the old 3rd Division South. At the other end of the table, another club with an illustrious past, Bolton, will be heading for League Two. It will be the first time they've played in the 4th tier of English football since 1987-1988, which is the only other time that they have ever been there. Instead of local derbies against Man United and Man City, which Bolton were enjoying as recently as 2012, their nearest opponents next season will be Salford City, who, like Bradford City, will remain where they are. League Two is fairly stable, however, it is assessed. Crewe, Swindon and Plymouth can be pretty confident of an automatic promotion spot. In League One, Coventry would seem certain to return to the Championship, and an interesting ground share with Birmingham, who are in the same league. Now the battles ahead, some issues are set to be far more contentious. Depending on what formula was used to determine league positions in League One, Wycombe, Peterborough or Portsmouth could miss out on a playoff place. Peterborough owner Darren McAnthony has threatened a legal battle of epic proportions if a decision was taken to the detriment of his club, who had won 7 of their past 9 games before the league was stopped with posh 3 points of a top 2 slot. Wycombe have most to gain. If the playoffs were scrapped and points per game average implemented, they would move from 8th to 3rd and be heading for the Championship for the first time in their club's history, which would be amazing for Wycombe Wanderers because they really do deserve it. They've risen up the tables over the past few years and they've really shone, and they've really they've shown the world what they are as a club. At the bottom of League 2, Macclesfield have already had 11 points deducted for breaching EFL regulations, with a further 2 suspended to the end of the season, to be triggered if they break the rules again. If they were taken off and points per game applied, the gap to bottom place Stevenage would be less than half a point. Would the EFL be prepared to send Stevenage back into the National League on such a margin? And if that were to be the case, what would it mean for Barrow, nervously waiting to find out if they are able to return to the Football League they were booted out of in 1972? Now don't forget, because Bury were expelled, there is only 1 relegation place in League 2 and there's only 3 relegation spots in League 1. So, only Stevenage would be relegated to the National League and only Barrow would go up. So Harrogate Town would have to spend another season in the National League after so long battling with Barrow to get number 1 spot in the Vanarama National League. As with so many issues football is dealing with just now, the overall aim for League 1 and League 2 is clear. It's the detail that is incredibly cloudy. So that is the BBC Sports article about the EFL. It's just, compared to the Premier League, who just want to rush ahead and get things started, the EFL are being extremely more cautious about this. And I like that. I've not exactly been, eye to eye with the EFL on certain things. Bury being denied a reported takeover with the papers all there in black and white, ready to be signed. Things like that, and letting the clubs just get destroyed. I've never agreed with that, because even though it's not their club, it's the league that they are owning, that they're involved with, so they need to take a stand to that and improve that fit and proper persons test. The things that I don't agree with the EFL. But on the flip side of this, I like that they're not rushing things back, and I like that they're actually thinking about it. Now, in my personal opinion, even though the Championship may continue, I think League 1 and League 2 won't. But I hope that the Championship follows the same route as League 1 and 2 and they actually stop the Championship. Now, some of those theories. Now, first of all, I'm going to throw in a theory that I saw online on Twitter, I believe. I can't remember the person who wrote it, so big shout out if you find this video for writing it. It's a great theory. What if they base the final standings of the Championship, League 1, League 2, on playing the teams once? So you play the teams once, and that is your final result. So basically, any team that you've played the second time would be stripped. It would be voided off the calendar and off the season results. So the teams only play once, and what that would do is, in my opinion, personally, that would make it more fair, because everyone's played each other once. Yes, it might not be the opposite to the home and away fixture, depending where you played the first fixture, but you've played each other once. You've played every team once. It works. It's a good theory. So I think that is a good option that they should look into in these EFL meetings, should we say. The present placings, I feel like that's a bad option, because obviously people have played more games than other people. There's quite a close points tally, so someone's on a joint level of points with the last playoff spot, but they're behind on goal difference. It wouldn't be fair on them with the game in hand to miss out on the playoffs, because the present placings are what they are right now. Points per game. Now, the average points per game, that's again another interesting theory. Some teams may like it, some teams may not. Personally, obviously we know that voiding the season completely is very unlikely. I personally believe that the theory about playing each other once and that's your result, I think personally that is the best way forward, because I personally think that playing each other once means that every team has played at least once against everyone. So you'd all be on the same amount of games, and the points tally wouldn't even matter. So, and you know, in my personal opinion, in terms of the playoffs for the Championship, for League 1, League 2, just scrap the playoffs. Just give the top three in each league promotion. Make the Premier League bigger. Make the Championship bigger. League 1, League 2. No one gets relegated. Bury gets reinstated, and we get bigger leagues next season. Now, bigger leagues obviously would mean more travelling, and it means more of a health risk. So I think if they were going to decide the season on you know, present stages, present standings, I personally don't like that. The theory about playing each other once, and whatever you've got out of playing every other team once, all 23 teams in the leagues in the Championship, League 1, League 2, you've played those 23 games, and that is your points tally after one round of fixtures. That should be the way forward, in my opinion. And, you know, whether the Premier League wants to relegate someone or not, again, the Premier League needs to work with the EFL on this. This is one of the only times, or one of the main times, where the Premier League needs to work with their the people that are below them, shall we say. That's how the Premier League would describe them. They're below them, because they're not as important as the Premier League, the biggest league in the world, the biggest league in the universe. So in my personal opinion, I think that the standings will be decided after they've played each other once. That is my personal hope, that they've played each other once, and any second round games get scrapped, and they just decide it based on what has happened when everyone's played each other in one round of fixtures, one half of a season basically. So I think the standings should be judged by one half of a season. Now, I am going to do full tables of this. I am going to do full results tables of this with this theory, and I'm actually going to do results tables with other theories as well. And again, same with the Premier League. Obviously they want to try and restart as quick as possible, but I'm actually going to look at the points per game average and the present standings after one round of fixtures theory, and apply them to Premier League tables and see where everyone would finish. And I'm actually going to judge them with my predictions that I wrote down. So I haven't looked at them in a few months, so it's going to be interesting. So make sure you stay tuned for them videos, and again, comment down below if you want to see them sooner rather than later. I'd like to upload them sooner rather than later, because of course the fact that obviously the meetings are going to go ahead, so a decision will be made. I may wait until the decision's been made on what they're going to do, and then release the tables of what that would mean, and then of course, you know, talk about the other options there were, and what that would do with the table, and how does it compare to the table with the you know, the option that they've gone for with the remainder of the season. So it's a very interesting time as a football fan. But I'll repeat what I said in that Premier League video. Footballers are not as important as NHS staff. They are normal human beings. You can't prod them with an electrical stick and say, do the football, do the football, do the football. You can't do that. You really can't do that. You've got to allow them to come back when they're ready, when they feel 100% safe and they're ready. Because sooner or later, you could be like the Bundesliga, where you get 2 teams quarantined for 14 days, but the Bundesliga is still going ahead this weekend. Obviously, it's not going to stop me doing, you know, match reviews, which, again, look forward to this weekend. Can't wait. And, yeah, this is going to be interesting. So, thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. Please like, comment, subscribe. And for now, guys, I am the CHALL. Goodbye. Champion! Champion!